No, I'm testing. No, I'm not hearing any music.
I can hear it on the stream.
Oh, okay. Alright, let me try the stream. Alright, cool.
Hold on. Before you say any names, uh, you uh Zargo. Okay. Alright, cool.
Yes. All right, so we're gonna start.
I'm going to go with Zargo for more often for a
peaceful life.
that's the name, just like I'm Kaizo, that's Java or Zen.
Okay.
So we don't want to use real names if the person doesn't want to. That's all. Gotta make sure because this is to be streamed.
Right.
Alright.
Anywho, welcome everyone. It's your boy Java slash Smortarian slash Zen. Yeah, and we are live. We are actually live, meaning my video is up again. And today is episode, what is now, 18, whatever. I kind of lost count of the podcast. So today is a different kind of podcast, and of course, it's more, I won't say intellectual, it's more of a nerd edition of tonight's podcast. But you'll get to understand more as we go along. So joining me on, as always, is resident streamer Living Kaiser.
Yo.
Mod. We have, of course, Bibiana, who just joined.
Hi.
Hello. And we have tonight's special guest. Who this? We have tonight's special guest. Hold on, let me mute this. We have tonight's special guest who is Zarga. Welcome.
I have a say it, sir. It's a,
Yeah.
I just say like regular like Zarga.
Like-
You have that Zarga, like he's a fucking Pokemon.
Jesus.
Well, close enough, right?
Who's that Pokemon? It's Zarga.
Zarga. Anyways, this is Zarga. So Zarga is actually our special guest tonight. It should have been done like what, 2 weeks now, but wasn't feeling well, so had to delay it a bit. Anyways, we're there. So Zarga, welcome, my boy. Good to have you.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me, guys.
No problem. All right, so wait. Actually, Charlie, I see you in the chat. This is before we get into the meat of the matter. Just a couple of things. Pun of the day. Freaking pun of the day. Actually, I'm going to give the pun of the day because y'all wouldn't stop tormenting me, and Kaiser actually broke it for me. So let me tell you this.
What, you're telling me you laughed at this one?
Hold on. Let me tell you. So
You laughed at it?
yes. So the pun is, I said to my son, I identify as Michael Jackson, and I don't have a son by the way. He said, Dad, that joke was so bad, you gotta beat it. I said, no, dummy. Gets better. My pronouns are he. I'm done. I'm here all night, guys.
Are you?
No.
Yeah.
Or
It boring
Just
though,
give me
yeah.
comic leave.
It boring, yeah, man, no, I delivered it horribly. But you see, this is why I don't the puns, guys. I've been telling you these from freaking 2016, but none of them meds me. So it's really whatever.
I mean, like, you not liking them is a different thing than can't deliver them. Because
Anyways, moving on. Cause you ain't gonna roast me tonight. Anywho's, alright, so tonight's topic is really technology and the evolution of, video games. And of course, we can't have anything intellectual with just me and Kaiser because we're not about that life. Which, you heard me, bro. Yes, roasting. Anyways, but that's part of the reason why I had to invite Zarga here because we want to have this intellectual discussion as best as possible. But before we get into the meat of the matter, Zarga, you mind telling us a bit about yourself real quick? Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
There are a lot of psychologists and different types of researchers to try and make their games as immersive or as engaging or as addicting as possible.
Mhm.
So on my fun side now, of course I'm an avid gamer. Being so from I've landed on this earth. My preferred genres. I'm a big RPG person, particularly JRPGs. Not necessarily the hyper grindy ones, but I don't mind too much grind.
Mhm.
I like MMOs to an extent. If it has a good story, I'll jump in. If it has other features, good flying, good PVM content. I'm not a big PvP person. I dabble in it a little bit. Once in a while I'll play stuff like League, but I don't touch Rift. I'm strictly TFT or ARAM. My heart cannot manage League.
Heart cannot manage
Rift.
league.
I
Amen.
cannot manage.
have you tried?
I
Have you
cannot
tried?
manage-
Have you tried? What's it called? What's the giveaway we keep playing?
No, it's not Earth. Is it Earth? No,
Ultimate
not
Spellbook.
Earth.
Oh, is that a
Ultimate
special mode?
Spellbook. That's
No,
it.
Ultimate Spellbook. Ultimate Spellbook.
No, I haven't.
Try it.
I've
You
just
love
been
it.
a couple
In
of months
our
now.
opinion, I think you should try it.
Yeah.
To be
Yeah.
honest, Ultimate Spellbook is
mean-
a really fun game mode.
Yeah.
Right, as long as it's not a serious mode, I can probably enjoy it.
No, it's not a serious mode. It's
Far
a
from it, actually.
it's
Far
a
from it.
rotating game mode. But
Yeah.
Ultimate Spellbook
Okay.
actually I found rotating Spellbook a lot better than ARAM because it mixes up the whole monotony of you playing the same champion and all of that kind of stuff, and it gives the level of RNG. What happens if this character has an extra ult? Blah blah blah. And it's actually quite fun.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
and very interesting, and it kind of expands your knowledge of other, champs that you haven't used or you're not used to.
No, not really. No, what it does, because you still pick your own champion. It's not random. You pick your champion. It's half draft where you ban a champion, but you don't see what your enemies are picking. You just pick what you want. And they make jungle very simplistic, where you don't actually have to worry about smiting. You just auto. So it's more of a simplistic, fast game mode that is built around what would happen if if you had two ults technically. Like say you have a Silas ult and you permanently are able to grab this person's ult. What would happen? Blah blah blah.
Right.
Is this a permanent mode?
It's not permanent, but it's been out. It's been out longer
for
than
a
it
while,
possibly
yeah.
supposed to be.
Okay.
I think
It feels like
I
it's
think
out
because-
much longer than it's supposed to be.
Yeah,
but
I think
not
it's
a permanent.
because of the appeal it has to the players, really. Everybody loves
Okay.
it. So I guess that's why. Yeah, that all game Amumu or Kung Lao. Right. So give it a shot. All right. So that
Yeah,
being
man.
said, we're gonna jump right into it. So basically, we gonna take it from the surface and then we'll go a bit deeper. So as you guys all aware, technology has certainly evolved. It has gotten much better over the last what we're in 2022, over the last 20
Yeah, yeah,
years,
yeah. Last year, everybody was riding on a stone wheel. To be honest, it was crazy that now we have cars.
right? Imagine like stone wheel and now we have cars, bruh.
Crazy.
Hybrid cars at that, electric. Anyways, so yeah,
Joking.
so aside from we have lights, fun, cars, and those things, the gaming industry has also evolved. So, bro, I'm forgetting name already. I'm forgetting name already.
Was
Zarga. There
our
we go. Yeah, there we
yeah,
go. There we go. All right. So, Zarga, can you just touch a bit on that evolution phase of technology and gaming in
yeah, man.
particular?
So I'll touch a bit on basically the history and the mechanisms of video gaming. So
Mhm.
before we even really get to that, we have to look at before looking at video gaming, you have to look at gaming. What exactly is a game? Proper idea of a game.
Mhm.
And a game doesn't have to actually be recreational any at all. By definition, what a game is any type of interaction towards any type of goal.
Mhm.
So you can regard anything that has to do with, serious real life stuff, work stuff as games as well. That's why in psychology, when they look at how different people interact, they call it game theory
Mhm.
because it's all about how and why people interact towards what end. Now, coming specifically into video games now, the inception of the first video game, if I remember back, it was in around 73 or 74, with Pong. It's a very basic game where
Mhm.
you had
Yeah, I
paddles.
remember Pong.
Yeah, man. It's very, very basic game. Two paddles and then there's a ball that bounces back and forth, and they use twisting dials to control the paddle. And as microprocessors and transistors started to shrink and to get more dense, people started to to experiment a lot more with what you could do, and eventually it reached the stage where you had RPGs on the early Windows days and the shooters, the early shooters like Doom and Wolfenstein, where they tried they tried to simulate different aspects of life to um, not only do build a game where you could have fun, but also build a game that somehow resembled life in some way. And this was particularly true of Wolfenstein because it's
Mhm.
based in an alternative universe of
Mhm.
what if the Nazis won World War II,
Okay.
and then basically and then basically the game just drops in right then and there,
I've never played
and you just fight your
Wolfenstein.
way through. It's lore wise, it's actually quite interesting. It was really looking at video game history, at least it was very much ahead of its time in terms of how much it mixed the gameplay into how much it mixed lore.
Okay.
And you can push into it a little bit in the more recent games. There's a new Colossus, which was the sequel to the one
What?
the previous remake of Wolfenstein, and they give
Oh,
you a breakdown of the older stories of
Oh.
where the games are coming from lore wise, how America and the Allies are trying to basically fight back against the Nazis and win, get the world to get back independence.
Oh.
Uh,
Oh,
yeah,
it's
so
free and epic chat. Okay.
it's basically Doom with like a really really heavy story. You can look at it that way.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Yeah.
See? All right.
Um, and then that's while speaking about games like those, that's while video games are still really heavily focused on an art. They weren't really looked at as a hyper profitable venture yet. Of course, you had earlier developers like Sierra and
Mhm.
guys like those that
Mhm.
came out and tried to make their studios and formalize it and really create high quality games. But it
Right.
would really be more into like the later 90s is where you see bigger firms like Acclaim and Blizzard and these kind of big studios starting to hire psychologists and like behavioral specialists to figure out, well, um, You know, we want people to keep on playing our games for a long time. And it
Okay.
is around this time, yeah, and it's around this time where you started to see the big split between a finished game that is a piece of art versus a game that is a service that you sell it in an unfinished state with the promise that, you know, later on, you know, for however months or years, you know, that they'll add additional content, that, you know, they'll fix bugs, you know, add features, you know, as long as you continue to pay a subscription, or, you know, as we see now in our current day, the dreaded microtransactions, you know,
Right,
free to.
because honestly, I'm it irks me personally because I'm coming from a time. We're all coming from a time where once we buy a, I'm using PlayStation for example, we buy a CD, right, and we play that game right through to the end, and you feel so accomplished that you've seen the game from start to finish, right? And if it is that the people want more, the company will push themselves to be like, okay, the people love this one, let's make a part two, right? Which will be a continuation of part one, really, which is a separate game by itself. And you buy it, play it, and you finish it, and that's it, right? But now we're seeing like it's DLCs all around. So some games that I've played, it's like it's not even completed. You know what I mean? It's just out there. So like, okay, we'll make something, put it out there, high class graphics and everything, because clearly it's all graphics and barely any lore for the most part, and you leave it at that, and the game quote unquote ends on a massive cliffhanger, and you're gonna be like, okay, we're gonna send out a DLC soon, which may be a couple months up to a year or two, and you have to pay for that, and it's like it's not even like say it's a part two, so to speak. It's more like a continuation of the same thing, you know. And the next thing is you mentioned the dreaded microtransaction. I'm gonna use Pokemon for example. Trading, a simple thing as trading, and if Roger is watching, he can understand my plight. Back in the day, you used to just trade Pokemon, free of cost, to each other. Now, you have to subscribe, aka pay, just to trade Pokemon for a time.
All right. If you want to be intellectual, let's actually correct you on that point. That's
Go
not a
ahead.
microtransaction.
That's a
A
massive
microtransaction,
transaction.
a microtransaction is, in this case, League of Legends skins, where you buy a skin. That's the subscription that gives you stuff to do. There's a
I
difference
stand
between that and a
corrected.
microtransaction, because
Oh,
I'm like, that's not technically correct. You're paying for a subscription to do things. That's not technically a magic microtransaction, although it costs for a payment to be done.
That's
But a
correct.
more of an example of a microtransaction is paying for a skin, paying for in-game currency, paying for like a one-off thing that's more or less permanent, kinda. Yeah, actually, it's more or less permanent. A subscription
permanent.
is you're
Like
buying
the
something
permanent.
for it to then you have to pay for it constantly.
Oh no, they have the permanent one, but you have options. But yeah, I stand corrected. Anywho's, continue.
Yeah, man. Well, further on the point of Pokemon, right?
Mhm.
It's not quite as bad as straight up being locked behind transaction to be doing certain game features and being locked behind a paywall for it, right? But
Right.
that's true of like when we saw with Let's Go, where the only way to get a Mew for yourself is to buy a Pokeball Plus, and you had to buy it brand new, meaning
Why?
nobody. Yeah, you go in, you connect it to your Switch, you know, you let it connect to the net, and then Nintendo servers register. Yep, no more Mews from this ball, ever, 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 ever. So that's definitely a paywall. But when it comes to trading, there's still a lot of wiggle room, right?
Yeah.
The first is that you can do offline trading. You can meet up with somebody in person, and you can trade via direct communication. And the second one, which is using Pokemon Home, that's like the new version of Pokemon Bank. That's on your phone and on Switch.
Mhm.
On mobile version, you can if you even if it's just a free account you have with a limited number of Pokemon, which is 30 with a free account, you can
Okay.
still trade between people.
Mhm.
So, like, let's say for example, I have something in Legends Arceus and I want to trade it to a friend, but none of us have online. If
Right.
both of us have our Pokemon home accounts, we can upload it to our home account and then go on our phones and then do the trade and then download the Pokemon to our respective games.
Right.
So, I
Okay.
mean, that's one additional step that you shouldn't quote unquote have to do, but at least it's an option, you're not totally locked behind a paywall. So, that's worth something. That's worth a mention at least. So it's not totally predatory.
Okay. So already
Yeah.
we're
And I have
seeing.
a little two cents.
Uh huh. Go ahead. Go again.
A little two cents. From a marketing perspective, I get that microtransactions are kind of annoying, but I think it fills a gap in the fact that they sell a game for one price and you can have it for 10 plus years maybe to play. That if nothing new comes out and something doesn't become obsolete, and they're able to still make some additional money throughout the year by offering different new items, as Kaiser mentioned, new skins and so forth. So it's still trying to get the most out of something that you have to purchase one time and they'll never see anything else aside from that one purchase. I don't think most games nowadays have those ads and so forth in them unless it's a mobile game. So how then do you support the developers of a game?
All
If
right,
you get
so that's a big topic, right? And there are two different directions that the answers take us. So the first one is maintaining monetary benefits for a company and developers for the releasing of a game, whether it is for something that you finish and complete and release, or if it is something that is a game as a service. Now, on the side of a company, they will be dependent on creating new content, right, in order to attract revenue. And
yeah.
whether you do that as releasing new content in a totally new game or releasing new content in a game that is constantly being updated, at least in my opinion, makes no difference. Because on the studio side and the developer side, you're still doing work,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
They're doing something in order to gain revenue. So from that
Yeah.
perspective, those are both absolutely the same thing. Whether you brush it up as, okay, we built Final Fantasy X, we're going to be making new content, we're going to build on additional to the story and release a 10-2 as a whole new game, versus,
Hmm.
Fortnite releasing a whole another, gameplay map. Those, at least to me, are exactly the same thing. Now, on the flip side of it now, right, on the consumer side,
Did he gone? Zarga, you there?
No, I'm hearing
yeah,
him.
man,
Oh, you're hearing it?
yeah,
I'm not. Okay. Yeah, I can't hear you now. Go ahead.
you can hear, okay. Alright, so, and then on the flip side now, which is the consumer side, right, which means we're buying a promise. The most controversial one recently we can look at is like Genshin Impact, where,
Um.
off the bat, its launch was huge and it did really well. They made something like $1 billion in like 3 to 4 months, if I remember correctly.
Hear that,
And then,
guy?
later on, yeah, it's like huge, record breaking. I don't think anything else has touched it.
Wow.
Um,
That's amazing.
yeah, and going towards the first year anniversary of their game, they got a lot of hate and a lot of backlash from the community because there was almost nothing that was done. That would have really been seen as the fan base as like a really big culmination or celebration. No big content updates. No really big giveaways, nothing like that that people would have been used to from a lot of other gachas. Because Genshin is a gacha type game, even though it's AAA. It's still to get characters, or at least to get the really nice quote unquote nice characters, you have to be in the gacha. So what we're doing when we go into a game like that is we're buying into a promise that okay, we know the game is incomplete and we can do X and Y now, and we're hoping that the developers and the company that supports this game going into the future will give us more content that we like and further to make the game enjoyable. Now,
Fair enough.
the hidden thing in there, right, and this is what we're seeing right now with a lot of online systems being shut down. This is a big one, like the Assassin's Creed games, older ones. Where after a while, if they decide it's no longer profitable, they will shut it down and you will be left back with nothing. Save
Damn.
for a few games that will give you an offline mode that you can continue to play the game once it's installed on your device. That's different. And that's nice. It's kind that they can do something like that.
Yeah.
But and I'll use this is a game that I really like. Dragalia Lost. It's a really good IP from Nintendo. It's the first mobile IP. They're shutting down the game in October, November coming this year, and it was really, really good, really well polished for a mobile game. It's console quality in my opinion. But those of us that have been spending money, getting our gacha characters and leveling up our weapons and our gear and all that. When November comes, we'll be left back with nothing. We'll never be able to play it. It's not like with you. Yeah. So you have to consider that side of things when you buy into our games of service as well. And a lot of people don't like it. I don't like it. Most of you probably don't either.
Yeah. I guess it depends on how much you like a game and like how much you put into it. Because anything that's free to play, if anything happens, so be it. But if you sunk time and resources, which is like money and everything else, which I guess time is a resource, right? So the money,
sure.
You're gonna feel extra bitter whenever something like that arises.
Right, that's just a natural reaction to it. Because if I know I spent like, let's say $100 in a game, very invested, and out of nowhere, they're for whatever reason they're like gonna shut it down, and that's just it. I'd be bitter because my $100 or more would be going down the drain, along with my entire time that I've spent investing. I invested in this game. It just gone just like that. So it's gonna leave people bitter against it. And after a while, I guess they'll heal and move on to the next best thing, I suppose. Right. But on the flip side, video games, people can, make a living from gaming.
Java.
Oh wait, Java.
Yeah.
Can you hear Jamaican gamer?
No, I cannot.
Wow. Okay.
Talk again, gamer. Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, man, I'm hearing you.
We can hear you.
Wait, I can't hear anybody. Hold on. Go again.
Alright, if you can't hear me, say no.
Alright, I can't hear you. Go now.
Alright, they're cool. Alright, even everybody.
Oh, go on.
Alright, alright, just going back to that same point. We're talking about adding certain games and all of that. Look at it, alright, because even when you look at Call of Duty, right? Alright, so every season that they release new game, so to speak, right? But it's like you're pretty much paying for the same game, right? Over again. Because even when you look at Warzone, right? When you look at Warzone, pretty much all the different weapons and all of the stuff there, right? They come into it, so it make it almost feel safe. Make it almost wonder if it makes sense to even buy like a new one. So, for example, you have Modern Warfare and stuff there, right?
Right.
I wonder if it makes sense to buy like a Vanguard or something or Cold War.
It could be like FIFA.
To interrupt you, but you chose the wrong game for that.
It could be like FIFA.
In Call of Duty, no, he didn't. In Call of Duty, every iteration of Call of Duty has brought something either new, different, although the gameplay is the same. They've always brought something different to the table. What you really should have used was FIFA, where FIFA barely fucking changes. FIFA barely fucking changes, and they produce something every year.
Literally.
That right there is garbage and should not stand.
Agreed.
That really should not.
Yeah, I
don't care if they upgrade the graphics or anything. And if they want to add new people and blah blah blah, just make that an online fucking game. I think really and truly FIFA should have just been an online game to start with, and it could have lived on for decades. But they chose to do let them keep producing one version. Well, in my opinion, Call of Duty does something different. Branches of Call of Duty. Example, if you go to Black Ops Line, Everybody loves the Black Ops line and
Yeah, Black
that
Ops was
stuff because of
No, that's
Call
because
of
of the
Duty
storyline.
Zombies.
That's
No,
the
I'm talking
storyline.
about
But
storyline.
when you look on it, but when you look on it, you know, pretty much all of the weapons them will come back in the same something the Warzone when they play Warzone. And the
No,
only
no,
way
no,
you
no.
can get
And that's the way you're mixing up stuff. You can't compare games outside of their own thing because Call of Duty, like, is maybe under the same title, but everything in a Call of Duty game is different. A Modern Warfare is not like a Black Ops, but a Black Ops can be like a Black Ops 2 or Black Ops 3, or you could have something different in the Warzone and all sorts of stuff. And it's just like Warzone is really picking up on the whole. What's the genre of game? Zarga, you know the genre of game I'm trying to get.
I mean,
at.
first-person shooters.
No. Fortnite is the same. PUBG.
FPS.
Oh, you mean
Yes.
Battle Royale? You mean?
Battle Royale.
Right, that's it.
Yeah, Battle Royale is the word.
Oh.
So they're playing
Okay.
off on the Battle Royale idea, which is that it's the hip new thing. Apex is living on it. Fortnite is popular. PUBG is dying off, even though it was like one of the first to come up with it or to actually be out there in the world with it. And it's just like, well, that's how we get into it. But they're still keeping to their moniker of being a first-person shooter game. Because when you hear Call of Duty, you're not gonna think RPG, JRPG, where we take up people and have them in our party and shit. No, you're thinking a first-person shooter, this is what they're just playing off of.
Yeah.
So if you wanted a better comparison, I think FIFA is a better comparison. I'm saying
All right.
garbage that keeps producing garbage over and over, but people somehow drink this up like it's the new fucking soup.
Well,
yeah.
It still baffles me to this day that these guys, especially out in Jamaica, these guys be buying every single FIFA, and I've only played FIFA like twice in my life, and it's the same thing. And I'm like, bruh, it's a waste of money, fam. It's the same thing. Better graphics, yeah, but same thing. You know what I mean? But
Guys,
whatever.
you have to play to your demographic, okay?
Which is
you
true.
need to know who your people are, and you know a lot of people like the football game, and they have to jump between FIFA and PES and so forth. So it's just what you like.
That is true.
And
which is quite true.
Because you could say the same for 2K. You could say the same for 2K. Every year there's a new 2K game. It's different
same damn thing.
And nobody's caring about the fact that you have to pay out every single year for a new game and so forth. They're just doing it.
Correct. Because, every year these games come out as a new iteration. They're getting sold. Why are they getting sold? Because there's a demand for them.
Yeah.
I mean,
simple as that.
Easy as the mechanics of the development of the games may look, the fact of the matter is that they're doing something that's working, and that in and of itself has value.
And that, it's just simple supply and demand, really. And speaking of money, folks can, professional gamers can actually earn from gaming. With the whole evolution of esports. And I've been reading on something about it. They said esports. This is coming from one website. Right now, Newzoo Expert. Yeah. They said, and I quote, esports will generate nearly $1.38 billion in revenue globally by the end of 2022. Right? China alone accounts for nearly a third of worldwide esport revenues. So what do we mean by esports? Professional gaming, right? Where it's like usually MMO or massively multiplayer games. Like the League, the Call of Duty, believe it or not, the FIFA, Fortnite, those kind of MMORPG games. People actually earn from playing those games. So yeah, guys, if your girlfriend or your mom say you can never make money or come out to anything good from playing video games, you can use this as reference that you can. Believe in yourself, and you will achieve your dreams.
And go against other 1,000+ people who are also doing the same thing.
Right. So I'm gonna touch on that, right?
Yeah.
Because ironically enough, I actually have a little bit of research I've done in this area. I've looked at a number of case studies
Go
on
ahead.
how exactly the esports platform works locally, from a financial and a marketing perspective.
Right.
And there are a few different zones that you have to look at to really get a good picture of it.
Okay.
The first one is how exactly is esports profitable for
Yes,
a company,
that's a best
right?
question.
Yeah, and what it is, it's what in marketing and PR they call it the Red Bull model, right? And how this works is, contrary to popular belief, Red Bull doesn't actually make any drinks. Red Bull is entirely to 100%. It's a marketing company. All of their drink manufacturing is outsourced, and the only reason they really have their drinks is actually to further spread the Red Bull brand. Almost all of their revenue, it is upwards of 90% of their revenue, is from marketing endeavors through things like different sports, through F1, through niche activities like the jumping through the stratosphere,
Oh,
skydiving, or stuff like that. That's where they make all of their money.
bro.
You
And
know what? That's
it's
gangster.
Oh, interesting stuff.
That
yeah, it's mostly true for esports as well. Esports, all it really does is it serves as a platform to advertise their game and the related sponsors that go along with those games.
interesting.
Oh.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
Well, it makes
right,
Yeah,
sense.
that makes sense. It
The
makes sense.
corporate world does
it
it for conferences every year, so why not have an esports tournament that you can advertise all you want, invite a bunch of people, get a bunch
Exactly.
of visibility online, influencers
Exactly.
talking about
Right.
it, and you get free advertising.
Exactly.
Well, some
right,
of it paid, but
Right.
free enough
and
that it makes sense.
yes,
Right,
and
because
it's
even when I look at it, because even when I look
oh,
at
go ahead.
for example, yeah, because even when I look at it, say for example, all right, the anime community as well, right? At the last event that I went to, anime clan, I saw companies like even Digicel was there, right?
Yes,
And they are
yes,
promoting
yes.
as well. And you see,
Yeah.
because especially in Jamaica, right, with the anime and cosplay community, it is steadily growing, right? So there are more courses who are now coming out now. So you're right. Using platforms like those to better market their companies and stuff like
Right.
that as well.
Because there recently there was actually an esports tournament out here. I believe Digicel was the main sponsor of it, and
Mm-hmm.
it had like cash prizes and all of that. So I think the two main or three main games that were going on during that competition are League of Legends. I remember that one clearly. FIFA, and I believe Call of Duty. I'm not sure about the Call of Duty, but I know for sure League and FIFA. And there were cash prizes and everything, and people came out like legit teams, just like in Europe and Asia and North America. Teams
Yeah.
clash together for the grand prize. So we are seeing esports growing not just overseas but also in Jamaica, and it's very
Oh,
lucrative because you
definitely.
have a lot of professional players out here, and they can actually
Yeah,
earn something by just doing something that they love.
yeah,
I
that is
think
true.
they try to cash in on most fighting games too. I'm seeing a lot of Ninja Storm tournaments and so forth.
And
All of
Smash,
those fighting
and
and
Smash,
Smash, yeah,
And
definitely.
Smash, yes,
Yeah,
Smash
definitely.
They're getting into it.
and Smash, of
So,
course.
yeah, man.
like
One
if
of
a
the
telco
anime.
actually came up with an ad right now to say, okay, you'll never have to deal with lag again if you
Yeah,
purchase this package from us,
man. So it's
you would
pretty much
see the
more than a niche
sales.
market now.
Yeah, but let's be
Yeah,
real,
it
they
is.
can't promise that.
Yeah,
They
no, no, no,
can't.
no.
I know. They
Every
can't.
time I hear that,
But it would
every
be
time I
great
hear
for us
that,
to
I
get
am
to
just
it.
like, they can't technically do that because if they come out and say, "Oh, we're making gaming internet," I'm just like, "So give me a second. You're gonna throttle the rest of my stuff that I want to see on the internet. What if I don't want to just do gaming for the rest of my life? You're
Right.
gonna like stop me from going scrolling through Twitter and shit. You're just gonna like, all right, the Twitter information go come through very slowly, and I'm just like, they can't do that. If they advertise it as gaming internet, it's gonna sound very bad in
Quality.
my eyes. But in other people's eyes who don't clearly understand it, they're just like, oh, what? This is gaming internet. So when I play games, it's gonna be all good. I'm like, y'all are buying into
Exactly. You're
something
gonna
very
pretend that you're
stupid.
sitting
Let's
beside the
leave it as
person you're
But let's
fighting
not
against.
comment.
No, well,
That not government
look,
no one instance. But the not government no one instance at all. You have internet separate and apart for gaming. How them gonna do that? I mean, is it like how you have like certain data bundle if you play
No,
But
they
they
games?
do it
can't.
right now for
They
TV
genuinely
packages. I'm
can't
telling
do
you, they
that.
could try.
Can't do that.
They
No,
could
they
try.
can't actually do that.
When I really see
there's
how
a way that
that's
they can
One at a
pivot it.
time.
That doesn't sound
Yeah,
like it's
man.
supposed to.
No, I think
Go,
that's
go.
thing.
There's a way that they can
Those are
pivot it,
please
right?
educate me on how they are able. That does
Yeah,
not
man.
sound like
There's
they
a
should
way
be
that
able
they
to
can
do that.
pivot it. The first thing that they would do, and this is just me speaking hypothetically, of course, but first thing is have a special gaming package for people where they're on dedicated servers that have really good redundancy, where you get the best ping possible, the most popular online gaming servers. So that you can have that dedicated service, and then bundled with that, I don't know if people buy this, but you could bundle that package as well with different streaming services. So like your Stadia or your Nvidia field game streaming, stuff like that, where they'll make it to people that don't have a good computer, but if you buy this package, you can get like a discount on these game streaming models.
Okay,
And they
that's
guarantee
where
Yeah,
that
where
that
the
will work.
difference is.
That will
Alright,
work.
fine.
Yeah,
That will
Okay.
work.
Yeah,
But that
Yeah,
doesn't
that makes
there's
sense.
no way
to
that
me.
you can do it.
To me, it would annoy me if they have dedicated servers for me to play games, but when I want to watch YouTube videos
Yeah,
videos
go
are
on
lagging like
something,
shit.
Yeah,
Oh, no,
That's because I'd
Even
rather
if you
them.
go on that, they
The
can
only
just
other thing-
fast split tunnel.
The only other thing what I see them possibly doing is that if they I think them probably try something like this, but if they're gonna maximize it, like say for example, you have digit games, right? So like say I have like certain games by Digicel or something like that, right? And then like how if you stream on like Twitch and like if I have like certain amounts of viewers or get bits or whatever, right? And get paid. So probably it can be something like this, right? Say for example you reach a certain level in Digi games or whatever, and then they pay you a certain percentage or whatever it is. Something like that.
Yeah, that sponsorship, I see it working. Because I realize Digicel has been sponsoring a lot of these esports tournaments in Jamaica. Not so much flow, I don't know why.
Yeah, because they know
Yeah.
what.
Yeah,
They want to corner the market, so it works. So.
Yeah, so they'll think there. And I mean, well, I like what I'm seeing. I like the fact that it's growing though. People can finally get.
Yeah, but it's that's the thing about right? Once I have a certain niche market now, right, that is steadily growing, a lot of persons want to come on the scene before it grows to an extent where I have a lot of the top companies actually into these events because for example,
that is true. That is true.
Like a Sagicor. Like I wouldn't want to have like say for example a Sagicor, no, right? Then Guardian just come out of nowhere, and then you have like a neck and neck kind of things. Almost the same way, like
the thing about that. The thing about it is that certain companies cannot they make no sense. They go after these things. So like a Digicel makes sense going after gaming things because they produce internet. But Sagicor insurance, like
listen,
but they won't try.
You'll be surprised.
This is an example because I mean you have other insurance companies out there because for example, right, if like a Sagicor was supposed to go on something like that, for example, right, where the market is not as huge as it, but it is steadily growing, right, and then when it reaches a certain point, and if Guardian, for example, just find that out, then it's a bit, what would I call it, it's a bit of tension because there's two insurance agencies right there, so we are looking right there, so.
Yeah, but I mean, like, they just really and truly that would be nice for what they're looking at. So, for example, esports scene. If the two companies try to battle it out, they're gonna have to try and one up each other constantly until one of them just say, "Cool, we're not battle anymore," and then that company reigns supreme. So, for example, I'm going to give the example of like the European League scene for League of Legends. Their advertising sponsors tend to be Red Bull, Mercedes, Kia. Actually, I take that back. I retract Mercedes. Kia because I think Kia took them over. It used to be Mercedes, but now it's Kia.
Hmm.
And they pretty much the other companies that like give out the what's it called, the internet, like Cisco and Corsair. So you have those companies that are like their main advertisers. And for your example, as you said, with using Sagicor versus Guardian Life, the idea that Mercedes used to be a sponsor to the LEC
Yeah.
is now Kia is this main sponsor, car sponsor
Yeah.
for the LEC,
Was it? Right.
which I guess can work out if that's how it is. If that's how
It's
they
just
would
a
like.
matter of capitalizing on a growing market before it gets too big.
Yeah,
Because
it's almost like when you look on the stock market and you see like a certain company, they have stocks of a such price, and look on the performance, and they
mm,
just kind of predict for say, all right, by such and such time it's gonna reach this, so you just try to get it now before things get
yeah, it
more
get really
expensive.
competitive. Because I mean,
Yeah.
you'll never, you can't, you as an insurance company, you can't go in with the mindset to get digital out. That's not going to happen, right?
Mm-hmm,
But
right.
it's a matter of just going into the market, getting your share of the profits, whatever profit that it may be, and settle yourself in the market before anybody else come in, right? Because you already know, based on what you're observing and what's going on, it's gonna just keep growing, and you would want a slice of that pie before it more competitors come on, and if you're going early, you reap the benefits early. It's as simple as that, you know.
True, true.
That- So yeah, but bottom line is that esports has become a very lucrative business venture, and
Market.
it has basically become a full-time profession for some people. They're just like footballers, that their job, professional footballers, that their job is to train and play football. It's the same thing for esports professional gamers. Their job is to practice their craft and play a game and win money and sponsorships. And of course, we have different platforms boosting these championships. So of course, Twitch is one. You have YouTube, and you have some other companies as well. So it's not just it's no longer playing a game for just recreational purposes. It's becoming certain games, certain key games, I should say, has become uh
Job.
get a what?
Job.
Yeah, a job.
Yeah, pretty much a
It,
job now.
yeah, it has become a job. Legit a job.
Yeah. So on that point, there's kind of a dark specter in the room that has to be addressed, and it's something that started to come up, particularly when Fortnite started to dwindle. And
Mhm.
what it is, it's the longevity of your mastery of playing a certain kind of competitive game.
Right.
So comparing it to, other traditional sports like your basketball, your NFL or so, those have you develop a skill where, once you're healthy and all of that, you can stick around for decades.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
in the case of, for like a Dota or a League of Legends, where your muscle memory is built into specific kind of movements and keys and all and mechanics, if they decide to shut it down for whatever reason in the future when it's no longer profitable, it's a lot harder for you to transition into something new and to hone your skills in something new. So
Yeah.
in a big, your livelihood, if you're a pro gamer, and you're on a team and all that, your livelihood is hinged on the persistence of this game, on the hope of this game going into the future.
That's
And then
true.
Yeah,
coupled
yeah.
with that,
Alright.
yeah, coupled with that too is the exact same problems that you see in professional quote unquote real life sports like with football and so, where you go through rigorous training. I'm sure some of you guys would have seen some of the articles and documentaries on like SK T1 and Fnatic and these other mobile game teams. where they have like strict breakfast, strict exercise routine, meditation at a certain time of the day, them have to go gym certain time of the day, where you're legit an athlete and your life becomes regulated. And it becomes very high stress, after a while. You've transitioned from playing a game where you're good at it and you're having fun at it to it really becoming your job. And to a lot of people, they go to a level of professionalism where they're not having fun anymore. Where, if you don't feel like today, you don't have a choice. It's like, your contract says you need to put in 16 hours of play, going up into this tournament. Like, if you've worried for one day, you're out of a job. And that's not pretty.
And I'm so glad that you mentioned that, I'm so glad you mentioned that because even like, so for example, regular Twitch streamers or YouTube streamers, right? When you see them go on hiatus, right, they take very long hiatuses because the stresses of actually putting out content, right? I mean, not just live streaming, but like for the individual channels, they have to like edit videos and stuff like that, make sure so they get the proper content. And sometimes some of them you have to pay for the social media sites to actually push out some of the content that they post because sometimes the algorithm doesn't work in their favor to push it out as how they want it.
Yeah.
So, so it can be mentally stressing.
And just want to, since we're on this topic, I just want us to touch a bit on gaming and putting out content and how the addiction that comes with it. A lot of people have video game addictions where they can't function so much in real life because they put so much and extra into playing games for whatever reason. I met actually Zarga sent a YouTube link to me a couple nights back where it speaks about video game addiction, and I don't remember much of what it said, but part of what I remember was that people play games to pretty much escape the reality and create what they call their own reality, so to speak, to the point where they're so into that reality, that fake reality, that sometimes they bring it out into the real reality. What do I mean by that? So for example, if any of y'all played Need for Speed, anyone, they always say before the game starts, it's fictional, always wear a seatbelt, always obey the stoplights, stop signs, road code in whatever country you're in, and then the game starts, right? So basically they're reminding you that you can't speed because you will meet in an accident and possibly cost your life and other people's lives and go jail. So you need to, after you finish play, snap back to reality and obey the road code. That's all they're saying. And a lot of
people video games make people violent.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, basically. But Zarga, can you just touch a bit on that addiction aspect there? Because it is a real issue.
It is. So the debate in academia as to how much media affects your behavior, and specifically for this discussion, video games, it does, but it also depends. So if you have a certain kind of aptitude or if you have a certain kind of personality, you're more likely to be swayed by the kind of life that you live in video games, because that's what it is. When you play a game beyond any kind of normal recreation, like let's say Candy Crush, right? Obviously, if you play like a ton of Candy Crush, you're not gonna go out in real life and then start moving your fingers around in front of you in the air, randomly, simulating a Candy Crush game. But a simulation game now, where you're operating a person that is doing a certain thing, whether it is a Grand Theft Auto where you have a rocket launcher on your shoulder, or if you're Link, with a bow on your back and a sword and shield in your hand. Those are much more geared towards a person potentially mimicking behavior in the real world.
Right.
But Zarga, I have to make it.
Wait, hold on. Let me.
No,
I get that. Yeah, I get that. With Candy Crush, you're not gonna walk around and move your finger in the air to do anything or whatever. But there's a serious level where I guess I can confess I've been there before. Where it's like as soon as I close my eyes, I am simulating a Candy Crush game and seeing the movements and whatever. That's how bad it can get. So it's like every second you're wondering, oh wait, can I beat this level? This is how I could beat this level. If it had gone like this, if it had gone like that. And you're making those permutations in your head, like you're creating the scene in front of you in the game.
Right.
It kind of gets that bad. So I know it's not as easy to say that we go out there and do the movements of the game and so forth, but it does take over in other ways, and it kind of puts you in the world.
Yeah, for sure.
And you're jumping around doing the same things, and it's very odd and off-putting, but yeah.
No, you're right. You're right. The only real difference there is just the way that the consequences of focusing on a game or having a habit of a game plays out in the real world. But you're right. When you get used to it, you have your mental memory, your working memory that will be processing these problems. But of course, with the simulation type games, they go an additional step to go into your motor function, which is how you use your eyes, how you use your hands and your feet.
Yeah.
I remember.
No, finish.
Okay. Yeah. Where that really touches on is how exactly video game addiction or hyper focusing works in the brain, right? And usually the reason why we start to develop any kind of video game addiction in the first place is because of the juxtaposition to real life. And what that means is, with a video game, right, the rules are very straightforward. You know that if you do X, you will get Y in return.
Right.
When you do a quest, whenever you kill a certain amount of mobs, if you reach a certain dungeon, you know what the drops will be, all of that kind of stuff. It's very straightforward, and you know what you're getting yourself into. Real life is not like that any at all. You can put in your best effort, you can work 150% and do everything better than everyone else, and you can still end up with nothing at the end of the day. And that can be a very daunting and frustrating thing.
Yeah. And you can't pause, you don't know what the end will be.
Yeah, you can't pause, you can't restart. But
and that really affects people, That really affects people, man. Just to get that one particular item, people be burning hours. I can confess to that too, in my early days of playing RPGs, especially Final Fantasy VII. Love that game. I remember I wanted to beat Sephiroth so bad. I wanted to beat Sephiroth so bad, and I could never beat Sephiroth. And I kid you not, I spent hours trying to level up, and I still couldn't beat him. To the point where I went to sleep, and I've been dreaming. I was fighting this dude, and something happened. I hope Sky listening, because she loves Sephiroth. I was fighting this dude, and I did Omnislash. For the Final Fantasy VII folks, they know what Omnislash is. But the reality is that I ain't Cloud, bro. I ain't Cloud. I don't have a massive sword on my back. I can't use my tail. I can't even do Omnislash.
Let me tell you, the most that I remember is something that's happening to me, and it's a very simple game, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know what that game was? That game was chess.
Chess? Oh, chess.
Chess. Alright, so there was a computer program, right? Harley's board game, right?
Mm-hmm.
This happened when I was in high school. Like, there was this crazy that was pretty through school at the time, right? Everywhere you go, somebody play chess. I remember I get so obsessed with chess, right? Because at the time I used to think, chess a nerd game and more people play it or whatever. But when somebody start teach me, and I say, alright then, we can do this and do that. And a couple times when I play against a computer, right, I might beat it one time and then it beat me the next time and then whatever. And the way how I play chess so much to the point where I go to my bed and I lock my eye and there's a chessboard that I'm seeing right in front of me.
Exactly.
And I assimilate the moves and all them stuff there.
Bruh.
Right? But for kind of touch back a little bit on what Sky was mentioning earlier, right? About like certain behavioral patterns and all them stuff there.
Zarga.
I've been
Zarga.
Oh yeah, and Zargan as well. It's kind of the original bathtub, right? But what I was doing, alright, my own readings as well, right? I watched some stuff as well, right? What I've realized, right, is that a lot of these things where video games, right, are being used as like tools, right, for persons to say that, alright, because of the video game that the person is playing, why the person is acting out like this. So they're saying that, violent video games, especially when Doom came out. Not even Doom, Mortal Kombat, right?
Mortal Kombat.
And when they're saying, when persons are saying, well, Mortal Kombat was so violent and gory and what have you, right? But what I found out was that time, right? A lot of this word that was coming mainly from like conservative type of persons who were saying that video games were actually causing that changes in behavioral patterns, right? Because persons were trying to find answers as to why certain things were happening. Especially, I'm not sure if you guys have heard about the Columbine massacre, right? The Columbine shooting, right? The high school shooting.
A vague memory of it, yeah.
Yeah, right. And one of the things that they were saying, right, was that the shooters, right, that they had enjoyed playing the video game Doom a whole lot, right? And they were saying things like, because of video games like Doom, where they were acting out like this and stuff like that. However, right, like I said, first they're just trying to find a solution, right? Trying to find answers, because the person does things like this, you want to find an answer, and person immediately just jumps on that. They will jump to other things in media, music and all them different type of stuff there, right?
Right.
But many research has been done, and it shows that any type of conclusion to that it was flimsy at best, because a lot of it, right, it has nothing to do with that. And if like say you have you have gamer rage. Right. Where you want to take control on the wall and all of them something. Yeah, man. I mean, that the anger that only lasts like a couple seconds is not something what necessarily a person has to carry forward, right? Ever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not necessarily say the game per se, because even the shooting as well, I think it was a Parkland shooting or one of them shooting there, right? Video game then the person play a whole lot. Would you commit the massacre then? Dance Revolution. Right? So
we're done.
I don't think that drawing up of video games, right, is necessarily something that promotes violent behavior in persons or whatever. I mean, yes, for video games, right, is like somebody said, it was like an escape from reality in a certain sense, because probably the individual is not like successful in certain areas of their life, whether in terms of building relationships or in terms of like getting promotion at work or whatever. So they use that to find that sense of accomplishment and them stuff there. But I don't think, right, it entirely is something that can be used, right, based on whatever documentary research, found to say that it's entirely to be blamed for violent behavior.
Inconclusive.
Especially, for violence.
Yeah. Well, I guess I understand that, but then countries are not going to stop banning certain games because they think it's going to influence the youth in a...
Oh, no, that's what you think.
No,
that's what you think. That's not correct. That's incorrect. That's
and they're going to
incorrect.
support some more than others. So
No, that's highly incorrect. There's a lot of games that have bent. There's a lot of countries that have bent games to their liking. Let's give an example. In League of Legends, China is the biggest thing there. So for the mobile game, was it Legends of Runeterra? No, it's not called Legends of Runeterra. Wild Rift, sorry, League of Legends Wild Rift, right? They could not they couldn't put the champion Thresh into the game because he looked like a skeleton. And thus, the creation of Unbound Thresh had to be made such that they could put Thresh in the game and have the mobile game be able to be played in China, which is where their biggest market would have been. So,
that's
yes,
countries
have a massive influence on certain
games,
depending on the market.
Want to find an answer as to why them stuff there contribute to like violence or society and all them type of stuff there, and I mean them go straight off of anything in the media. So violent video games, music, movies,
all
what
right.
have you.
Yeah. Okay, no. Let me continue on that point, right? So before I even begin the point, I'll say this, right? A lot of these studies that you look at, that study the influence of media on behavior, before you even read the study, go to after the bibliography and look at who paid for that study. And I'm just gonna leave that there. Who paid for the study? Who commissioned the study?
Okay. I get you.
A lot of the game companies pay for these studies. A lot of them. Alright, and just to give you a bit of scope, just to give you a bit of scope, and keep in mind, I'm saying this as a very pro video game person, alright? This is the power of the influence of media. So this is like movies, music, all of these things. In 1999, there was a small country in the Himalayas called Bhutan. They were a pretty isolated country. For a long time, they never had any kind of media. And then in the late 90s, 1999, they started to introduce like movies, music, games to some extent, but not that big. And then they were always a peaceful country, and after only 4 years, they saw a 6-fold increase in rape, in violence, in larceny, in arson.
Damn.
And they've had to start, just 4 years. And they've done, a lot of universities have done a lot of benchmark studies really to demonstrate how easy it is to influence people by using media. There's a big complexity in it in trying to find an antecedent or trying to find a beginning, because there's usually a feedback loop. So real life influences media, which influences real life, which influences media, and so on. And before Bhutan, before that case study, it was really hard to really know for sure. But because you had such a clear-cut, like totally peaceful place, never had any issues, then all of a sudden you bring in this stuff, and you could instantly start to see the changes after a couple of years and trace it back to it. That really started to show us that there's an influence. Of course, the devil is in the details, right? The devil in the details is that there are certain kind of personalities that are far more impressionable to these kind of things than others. There are certain kinds of people with certain dispositions, mental dispositions, where you can expose them to massive amounts of violence and crime, and it does absolutely nothing. They can compartmentalize it. But you will have others where they absorb a lot of the motifs from their media, and they start to incorporate it into their psyche, into who they are.
Exactly, that's true.
One of the reasons why a lot of militaries now, they like to recruit people that are really good at FPS. It's not just because they're used to the motor function of how a gun operates, but it also rivets into their psyche that, when it comes for me to do my first set of kills, I'm not going to hesitate.
I remember that
already coded into my brain.
That was also, I remember seeing something like that as a part of a research I was doing some years ago, right? Where persons in the military, right? Some of them had to play FPS games because the thing what they realized is that it helps with their motor skills, right? Hand-eye coordination and all of that. So yeah, I can actually see where that is coming from.
Wow. Well, alright, we pretty much went over time. Any last comments anybody wants to say before we close out?
Well, it was literally only an hour long. Where?
No, I have other things. I need to do this, dog. I needed to do this, but I also have another project I need to sort out by Sunday, so I don't have much time. But of course, I need to continue this. But this was something I had to do, and as you can see, it's a very interesting discourse. You like it to the Kaiser, don't you? Don't say you don't like it to me.
Like, I don't deny it. I don't mind any form of conversation. Pretty much drop myself into anyone.
That's why you're my co-host. Alright, before I go, any other comments, guys, lady?
Yeah, don't use video games to cover up any issues you have in real life. Reach out to somebody and let them help you.
That's
That
yes,
makes sense. I
that is
can think
true.
of taking
Fuck.
care of your mental
Fuck.
health and making sure that you keep on top of that, right? You know, you're the only you that you ever have. I don't think we're cloning people right now. So do the best that you can to cope without having to use outside influences to make a difference.
Good point.
Definitely.
Gamer, you were saying
Yes,
something?
and nothing is. Yeah, I was saying facts to what Zarkov and Sky. And also what I want to add is you can enjoy your video games but also take some time to socialize outside of video games. So, go see a movie with your friends, go out and eat, just do some stuff outside, get some vitamin D. It's good to help to balance everything that's going on mentally. Because,
Exactly.
like I said earlier, right? I mean, persons who do gaming professionally, right? I mean, persons who actually use gaming as a career, after a while, when they take hiatus, they take long hiatus. So, you
Turiku.
don't want to be just dependent on that alone. So, go outside, have some fun, right? And develop
Well
people
said.
skills.
Well said, guys. All right. Kaiser, anything you want to say before I go?
Nah, you can close out now.
Okay. All right. So it's been a wonderful and interesting podcast. Thank you all so much. Special thanks to my co-host as usual, Living Kaiser. We are league
Mm-hmm.
players. He's better than me. Um, Shout out to Bibiana. Really appreciate it. Um, Jamaican Gamer, surprise guest. Respect my G. And of course, our very special guest, Zarga. So until then, guys, we'll see you next week with another podcast. I may continue this, or I'll just go on a different topic. But of course, this won't be the first and last time you'll be hearing from Zarga, I should say. And I hope everyone who is watching, learn something and can apply it to their lives or their child's life, because I know some of my viewers have kids, so there is a limit to that you should put on your children or child playing games. If anybody has any issues with video games, as usual, as what Zarga said, let that person talk about the issue, whatever issue it is. And I mean, don't just let them drown in the game. So, yeah, that being said, thank you guys so much for joining. Really appreciate the support. Peace in the Middle East, everyone. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
And